Yes, here we go. It's a Champions P.M.P episode. Celtic crowned champions of the 23-24 season. It was never in doubt. We never even, at any point in this season, did we waver in our belief that Celtic could win the league. Honest. But yes, well done to Brendan and the team. And as you can see, we have strengthened the Bhoycie Bus team tonight as well, because not only is Terry joining me for P.M.P, but it's a debut. Right in the second last day of the season, the day we get crowned champions. And Pam, who you will know so well from the live chat, has decided to join the bus. So I'm sure you'll all extend a massive welcome to her. She'll be contributing on the channel for, well, till she gives up on me and Terry's nonsense and bails out. So it might just be one show. Hopefully it'll be more than that, but we'll see how we go. We're going to do all that good stuff, and then obviously we'll say hello to Pam, and then we'll get Terry's initial thoughts, because that's just obviously what we always do in the P.M.P, and he's only one out of the whole team, I think, that takes notes. I hope it's Rangers taking note tonight. It's the hope that kills you. Anyway, all that good stuff means give us a like, give us a share, slag the hair. I don't know why I'm laughing. But if you want to become a Bhoycie Bus member and all that crap, who cares? Let's just get stuck in. Pam, welcome aboard.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I think Pam's going to be the nicest guest we've ever had in our life.
Don't get me started, though. Don't get on my bad side.
This time next season, me and Terry will have black eyes, I'm sure, in the P.M.P. It'll go that way. Terry, though, how are you, mate? You good?
I'm grand, Bhoycie. Absolutely brilliant. Buzzing. Just the perfect night for us to piece together the first kind of 90-minute performance. I think that was what we expect of this team. On one hand, frustrating that we've kind of had to wait so long for what we knew was in there, but by the same token, and we've said this a few times, the fact it's took till the second last game of the season has made this an exciting season. And when all's said and done, we're champions again. Ole ole, and welcome aboard the bus, Pam. When it comes to Celtic, I'm all about upgrades. So I'm expecting you to be an upgrade on what we've got on here already.
Expect the unexpected.
No, definitely. I think P.M.P's definitely been upgraded, Terry. It is fair to say, mate. What was your thoughts then on that, on the performance first and foremost? And we don't need to go, blow by blow accounts of the game tonight. Obviously, today is a day of celebration, or tonight, I should say, is a night of celebration. And I think the achievement that's been made by both the manager and the team deserves all the applause that it gets. But in terms of actual individual performance, I'll come to you, Pam. I mean, that's as good as I've seen Celtic all season, was it not?
Yes, it definitely was a game where I didn't feel any negative emotion, which I can't say for a lot of the games, especially to get up at like 6:30 in the morning. There are times where I wish I just slept through it, but today I just felt really confident in the team as well, and like I could trust them. And I have pretty bad trust issues, so that's saying a lot. I actually wrote down, this is how excited I got. I wrote down Ida, Matt O'Reilly, and Forrest, and I put them on a love heart together. And I wrote the Holy Trinity next to them, because I just thought they were so well up in front. And it was just absolutely magic. Absolutely magic to see.
Yep.
Love it.
Terry, is Brendan's message that he's been trying to get across all season beginning to come to the fore? Is that what's happening? Are we now looking at what it is that Brendan Rodgers has been trying to achieve with this team? Because there's far more dynamism to that. Not easy for me to say, I don't even bother. There's far more substance to what they're trying to do, Terry. There seems to be more aggression in their play. They seem to be braver on the ball than they were before. There seems to be an intensity that's been lacking in several games this season. They're playing at a slightly quicker tempo. Rodgers was quick to mention that after the game. I think, to be honest, when we look at how we finished this season and we compare it with how we finished last season, surely there should be signs of optimism going into the summer that the team has begun to click. The recruitment, obviously, we know we could talk about a million times, and we will do over the summer, because it's not actually the guys that have been recruited under Rodgers' watch that have got us there. But he seems to have found the right recipe with the team, for want of a better expression, right now. And we really have, as he said, came alive when we've had to this year. And it's not just the points. We've actually matched it with performances of late as well.
It's not one for tonight, Bhoycie, but that kind of performance does still ask questions about why we've had to sit through some of the stuff that we've had to sit through. Why was he not getting the message across? Why were those players not able to perform anywhere near that level? I mean, if we look at Kilmarnock tonight, if you watch that game tonight, how on earth did that team beat us twice and take points off us at home? How did that happen? If you watch that game tonight and you were told Celtic were going to play Kilmarnock another 100 times, you couldn't see them taking anything off us. So again, it's not one to dwell on, but why is it taking until game week 37 for us to get almost flawless 90 minutes at the level we expect, with pretty much the same players that have been used for a lot of the season? And it might just be a case of there were key players that were unavailable for long spells, i.e. Carter Vickers. Hatate probably still yet to hit the heights that we know that he can, but he came back at a key time. McGregor had been in and out. He came back at a key time. Joe Hart started to look like a goalkeeper.
We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about him. And
look like a goalkeeper.
Is.
And latterly, James Forrest came back into the team at a key time. But everything just seems to have aligned. One of Ange's comments when he took over was around how he would have his team ready to hit fever pitch just at the business end of the season. But last season, as you've touched on there, it kind of was the opposite, where we were quick out of the blocks. Job was done by February, and then it really, really dropped off and tailed off. And for me, anyway, I think that kind of rolled over into this season, where we kind of started in the same going through the motions style at the end of last season. So if this is if this is how we're finishing this season, and that rolls into next year, and we start and then absolutely brilliant. And I think I may be wrong, but this run that we've strung together just in and around the split, that's our best run of wins all season, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it is. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Up until a few months ago, we hadn't strung three together. Do you know what I mean?
We did one wee run, didn't we? Where we did. Was it
right. We thought we were back, and then we were brought back down to earth again. But I think this is our best run. Again, it's already starting to get optimistic. You've only just haven't even lifted the trophy yet. We'll lift the trophy on Saturday, but you're already thinking, right, revamp Champions League next year, all this money in the bank, and then you start to kid yourself on that we're going to do something in the transfer market and all the same kind of stuff. You just get dragged into this again every single year, where
sign me up, I'm in.
Every single emotion under the sun.
Pam, it may well be Groundhog Day. We win league titles, we get our hopes up in the summer. There's going to be a big recruitment drive, but who cares? Because see, today I am as guilty as anyone of forgetting all about European failures. I've forgotten what a shitey transfer window even feels like. I'm past all that. I'm looking at 5-star Celtic tonight. I'm looking at the return, I think, that Terry says, of certain players that have come in, and a ruthlessness from the manager as well to go, do you know what? See, to get this job done here, I ain't going to be playing some of the recruitment, or the guys recruited, sorry, that from the summer window and the January, or not the January, but the summer one in particular. He's been ruthless in that, but he's went, I'm going back to tried and trusted. That means the likes of Yang out, Forrest in. You see the difference. You see the impact that these things have. Coming Carter Vickers, I think there's no coincidence since he's now on his longest run of starts in the team. Celtic pick up such a consistent run of form. Callum McGregor, when needed, when he came back from his injury, inspired in the last few weeks. After a sluggish start coming back from his injury, but when it came to the crunch, he's stepped up as well. There's so many you could talk about. I think when we look at the performance, Matt O'Reilly, is it only, imagine not being the biggest follower of Scottish football, right? And just, I don't know, watching Matt O'Reilly's best bits this season, Pam, right? And then someone tells you Lawrence Shanklin was voted a better player than him. Fucking other countries must go, they're crazy in Scotland. Yeah, he is a baller, and he epitomised everything good about Celtic tonight, did he not?
Oh, yeah. The people that were saying that Lawrence Shanklin deserves Player of the Year over Matt O'Reilly, after looking at that performance, honestly calls for an oy vey. Like, what glasses are you looking through? Are you looking through blue tinted glasses? I have absolutely no idea. But after this game, I mean, they should do a recount and award to Matt O'Reilly. Let's be real. Like, it's absolutely insane.
Is Matt O'Reilly, Pam, judged to a different standard than other players? Because I think even when you hear the pundits talking about him tonight, they still managed to squeeze in. He had that dip in the middle of the season. Everything seems to be caveated with this dip. And when you look at his dip in form, as it were, it never fell off a complete cliff here at any point. And I actually look at a season, say it's 9 months. What's he had? An amazing 8 out of 9? 7.5 out of 9? I mean, do we really have to caveat this with, but he did have a mid-season dip? Yes, he was linked with Atletico Madrid, and people think that means his head turn. I think Celtic's been extremely up and down this season, and Matt O'Reilly's been very much mainly up, unless, a few games a season not being at your absolute best. That's going to happen. I think this year he's been absolutely outstanding, and I look at the quality of the goals that Celtic scored tonight as well. And it's not just assists from him and goals from him. It's the quality of balls even Maida put across for Forest. And I thought, we looked more and more like a team that's getting closer to the finished article. And it's just bang at the right time, ahead of now a cup final as well. Are Celtic now geared up to win that too?
I think so. I think today was a huge confidence boost. For me personally, it was, because I was a little bit apprehensive going to this game, because Killy have just been that team that have just given us trouble, whether it's a scrapey win, a draw, a loss, all throughout the season. I felt the same about St. Mirren last season. They're the St. Mirren of this season, in my opinion. But this game really cemented the fact that we're unified as a team unit. It actually felt like watching a bit of handball today. It was the fast pace. It was the cohesive passing. People looked like they knew what they were doing. They could see what the next 2-3 passes ahead of what their action was. Do you know what I mean? It just looked put together. And to go back to your question on whether Matt O'Reilly is judged to a different standard, I think he is, but I don't think it's fair. I think the only player I thought that was fair for was Jota last season, because he was a superstar. Whereas Matt O'Reilly, he's fantastic, but he fits into this team and he bolsters other people's performance to become sort of equal to him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on there. Terry, there's loads of individuals, and we're going to get you go around the houses, I think, tonight, not just in terms of tonight's performance, but I think as well, when we look back at this season, and there'll be episodes of Bustalgia further down the line by Phil. Fucking hell, we've been doing this bus for a few years now, Terry boy. But when you look at this season, I think we will start reflecting on the impact James Forrest had out of nowhere. From the ashes, Terry, he's came back and he's added real quality, I think, to Celtic's play in the final third, has he not?
Again, creates a question, though. Why has he not been playing before now? Why has he only come in the last 3 to 4 weeks?
I think he said that. I think he said, this is what I was touching on earlier. Sorry to quickly come back, but I think he's felt like he's had he's felt almost like he's had to play some of the newer recruits at times. He's felt like, you've got to almost, because they've got to get a go. And I know he's been quite ruthless with the centre-backs to contradict that, but I would think out of 9 signings, he's probably felt, compelled to play some of them at times against his better judgment of them. And it's came to the crunch. He has pulled out his ruthless Street Rodgers and he's turned his tried and trusted, and Forrest has delivered.
Yeah, and he'll probably make some kind of contribution next season as well, Bhoycie, I would imagine. I don't see James Forrest going anywhere else at this stage. He'll tick a box in terms of coefficient, and he's shown that if used sparingly, that he can come in and make an impact as and when required. I don't know about you, but my favourite moment of the night was whenever Carter Vickers got back up again after falling very, very awkwardly, because I just had visions of going into a cup final without him. He went down really awkwardly. Look, it was almost as if he got a head knock and he was stunned. Then you could see that he was kind of holding his back, and I was just delighted to see him get back up again, because I think he is the main person in terms of, there's other players that are key, but we can almost do without them. But he's the one that we struggle to do without.
The tight line fits, doesn't it? The tight line fits.
Yeah, and what I would really, really love us to do is just to find another one of him. Can you imagine two? Can you imagine a clone of him playing beside him? And we're able to do it.
Totally.
We're able to do it. There's players we've brought in before that, probably haven't made the same impact as him, but looked as if they were quality players. I'm thinking the likes of Denier, Benkovic, guys like that. If we can find someone of that sort of class to bring in alongside him, find somebody else, possibly somebody that's had the same kind of journey as him. He's been on the fringes of a Premiership team, but he's been getting loaned out left, right, and centre. There's a hell of a lot of top quality players that fall into that bracket where they've been at a City, a Spurs, some of those clubs, but they haven't got to look in just because of the sheer volume of quality players. A bit like Fraser Forster as well. He was someone who came with massive reputation, but very little first team experience down south, just because there was a better goalkeeper ahead of him. I would love us to see someone of that same ilk as Carter Vickers or any of those guys that I mentioned come in and play alongside him with a similar type signing as goalkeeper. I think if that was our spine going into next season of the two centre backs and the goalkeeper, I think that's where I would be starting my summer planning at this very, very early stage.
Big Terry, what's he like? He's already doing his summer planning when we win a title. Fucking hell, man. What is he like?
Well, see, here's another thing as well, though. I touched on at the weekend. That result tonight, fast forward next season, if we'd struggled there again tonight, our first away game next season, the fixture computer would have sent us to Rugby Park. We've blown all myths out of the water that you can't play good football on that pitch. You can't go to Kilmarnock and give them a doing. That might get us a 3 points next year. Whereas if we hadn't got the job done tonight, you're carrying that on into another season. You're then approaching that ground with trepidation because it's been 3 games since you picked up a victory. Little tiny small things like that. Just all gains on a very positive night.
No, a very positive night indeed it was, and it's on nights like this we're allowed, Pam, to be a bit sentimental. And I just thought the Joe Hart stuff, I mean, the fans are giving that acknowledgement. And do you know something as well? Just on an actual playing basis, I think he's in his best 6 months in a Celtic shirt so far. I actually think his last 6 months will go down in his finest spell as Celtic's number one goalkeeper. But notwithstanding that, when we look at it, I just had to get that in. When we're looking at them celebrating, you see what it means to them in that. And, I've got the emotional capacity of a goldfish at times. And even I kind of was like, you're pulling a wee bit at my heartstrings, mate. I was just loving watching his absolute enthusiasm. Like it's the first trophy he's ever won, the passion he's showing. And it's great to see it reciprocated for the fans as well. That, to me, defines what Celtic's all about. A guy that's been there 3 years. You think he's been there, seen it, done it all between England and City and all that carry on in between. And yet you look at that at the end tonight and it's like his first ever trophy, as I say, and the fans giving him the absolute kudos that he deserved. It was amazing, wasn't it?
Absolutely fantastic. Every time my dad and we do a video chat on the weekends, and every time we talk about Celtic, of course, and then we talk about Joe Hart and how, especially this season, and when he said he was retiring, it's like he became more motivated to be even more of a loyal servant to the club and give it his absolute all. Now, mind you, my only critique of Joe Hart is that he stays with the goal line a little bit too much. Sometimes he can go out a little bit and even just punch the ball away, But anyway, besides that, you cannot deny how loyal he is to the club, how much he loves playing for us. You can see it in his eyes, just pure joy. And it's almost like it's almost like, I don't want to say his career has been revived, but it's almost like it just had a new era to it, almost coming up to Scotland, playing for Celtic, being immersed in the fan atmosphere.
Yep.
We offer players who just give it their all. That is the most important thing, is that you give it your all for that jersey. And
yes.
I think that.
To talk about Bustalgia again, Pam, I've just had an idea as you say that. I think we could do an episode with Phil on players resurrecting their career at Celtic. And I think, he is a prime example. And there's been a few who've came, particularly for down south, and maybe have been out of favour at certain clubs and found a new lease of life. And Joe Hart's really done that. I'm so chuffed for him to end such a glittering career as well, Pam, that, with the league in the bag. And I just really hope that we win the win the Scottish Cup, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do win the Scottish Cup that he'll actually have one hand on the trophy as they lift it. I think it'll be him and Kilmarnock who do. So I think that's written in the stars. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I just thought the emotion from that was class, and that is what it's all about. Being a Celtic fan for me is like seeing players like that embrace it, as you rightfully point out, get immersed in it, and then seeing it reciprocate from the stands to the player as well.
Exactly, and also there is a moment during the game where, sorry to sidetrack it a little bit, but it's where
what we do.
True, that's true. It's where Kilmarnock, when he was coming off, he gave the captain's like
yes.
to Joe Hart.
Yes.
You can just see the smiles on both of their faces, and it hit me here. I'm like, oh my god, this means so much to them both.
Yes, there was an interesting wee quote as well, Terry, at the end where it was Alistair Johnson getting interviewed, and he says, how can you get tired of this? He goes, look at Kilmarnock, look at James. He goes, this is only my second. And he says, look how many they've won, and look what it means to them still. These guys are relentless in their pursuit of continually delivering trophies and success to Celtic. And you need senior pros in your team. Joe Hart's the epitome of that, mate, like I'm touching on there. But he's not the only senior pro in the team. And it's been no coincidence, again, that the guys that we've named so far all tend to fall into that bracket. So far, we've spoke about Joe Hart. We've spoke about Cameron Carter-Vickers. We've spoke about Callum McGregor, James Forrest. It isn't a coincidence, is it, mate? These guys you can count on to really roll their sleeves up and get you over that line.
I think you probably add the manager into that as well, Bhoycie. And I think...
Oh, fuck, we're going to get to him. Don't you worry about that, big boy.
The Brendan Rodgers song was sang tonight, and to me, that kind of closes that book. I think that's him now. For anyone who hadn't forgiven him, he's now been forgiven. So there was a rendition for a couple of minutes of the old Brendan Rodgers song from his first time around. So I think pretty much everybody has, he's come back. He's told us he'd see us in May. It's May. He's seen us, and he's delivered, despite the fact there were times this season where I genuinely didn't think he was going to get it done, but he has. So, I mean, you've now got a manager. We've got a manager that those Glasgow Derby matches. We've now got a manager that we just completely trust to get the job done in those games, and he's got a core of players there that he can trust. Now he's going to lose one of them. He's going to lose the goalkeeper, but he'll still have McGregor. He'll still have Carter-Vickers. Forrest will be there in a capacity. You'll have Alistair Johnson moving into his third season. That Kyogo moving into his fourth season, if he's still here.
Fourth will be, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got a real core of players there who know what it's like to win and have continuously been able to get the job done, and that can only bode well for the future. The obvious question, I think most Celtic fans you listen to are resigned to losing O'Reilly. I always hold out a wee bit of hope. You never know, but I think everything points to us losing him, but just because of his pure numbers this season, the eye test, whatever any scouting database, whatever search you put in, his name's going to be at the top of it. Doesn't matter what you're searching for, his name's going to be at the top of it. And you can add on whatever number of millions you want every time he plays, because he was just absolutely majestic tonight. And yeah, there was a drop off. What was it? 2 games, 3 games?
Yeah, way overstated.
Whenever there was a winter break as well, it was probably only 2 games, and he probably played all right in those. But there is a chance he'll still be at Celtic next year. But I think the whole model is set up that you cash in at someone's absolute peak, and I think with what he's got left on his deal and the numbers that he's generated this season, even if he wants to stay, I think the powers that be will have pound signs in their eyes.
Of course,
that's a void that's going to have to be filled. I don't think there's anybody. There's no O'Reilly replacement from within that I've seen. So that's one area again where we're going to have to go, and we're going to have to find someone who's going to generate what he's got this season in terms of goals and assists, and that in itself isn't going to be easy.
Yeah, of course, and I'm sure we will be discussing that at length over the summer as well when we try and cobble together what we think the Celtic side should look like going into another Champions League campaign, going in again as champions and seeing if we do finally build from a position of strength. But the manager certainly strengthened his cause for that, Pam, because we have to now start talking about the impact that Rodgers has had, particularly again, if you talk about guys coming back into the team, seeing a bit more form from them. I mean, Rodgers has found his fucking form as well, has he not? I mean, let's be real here. When it's came to the crunch, you look at his big games domestically, and yes, I'm talking about derbies. Yes, I'm talking about 4 out of 4 unbeaten, 3 wins, 1 draw, 10 points. That matches his record at Celtic. You know, that matches anything Ange achieved at Celtic. In fact, I think it beats. I'm not sure if Ange managed 3-1. I'm not sure he did. And there, when you look at it, you go, this is where you get the big bucks. And when it came to the title running, I think he knew how to play the media. I think the media helped him at times. I think there was inadvertent mind games going on that he then just jump on and thought, fine, he didn't miss them again tonight. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, he's getting, but I know Sky had those issues with their mics and stuff. But actually, what he was saying was some of the stuff he'd heard this season had brought challenges. Some of it, though, was really tedious. And he says, what it plays on words and things like this that were nothing. He says, all brought different challenges and made me a better manager. And you just think, when we look at the Celtic overall, and we look at the backdrop of this campaign, and no one's been convinced by the recruits. No one's been convinced by the strategy then. No one's been convinced by the board and the Green Brigade at loggerheads and fans being banned from the stadium at certain times this season. That was all within this campaign. He's done it all under that backdrop. And when it's came to a real challenge from Rangers, because remember, that's what's been used against him now, which is an incredible thing, that when he was really successful, it's because Rangers were shit now. Amazing spin that has been managed to be achieved. Well, if that is the case, that there almost seems to be an acknowledgement that they're not as bad this time around. Okay, let's give them their props. They ain't that bad. They put up a real challenge. Rodgers stepped right up to it and will end up, as I predicted, the 8 points gap will be restored by the end of the season. They've got an away game in the final day. I wouldn't be surprised if we Mystic Meg over here was right. And if so, what was the problem?
Well, I mean, you know, looking back at this season, all that Brendan has had to put up with, all the challenges that's been thrown his way, and I'm not just talking about injuries, which you'd expect a manager to have to deal with, but like you said, the Green Brigade, whole scenario, the press, you know, not just going against him for certain words and, you know, misinterpreting words he said, but also bigging up Clement, being like, oh, this is the Sevco comeback. Oh, yeah, we're coming for you, Celtic. All that BS. It turned out to be BS in the end. He's had to put up with all of that. And I think that shows his winner's mentality of how he did not let that sway him. And he said, look, this is the situation I am. These are the players I have. This is the best I can do in terms of creating this formation, etc. You know, was it always perfect? Hell no.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. You're right.
He's got the job done. He's done a great job looking at the end of it. You know, it's secure. We've won it. We're going to have a good points lead as well at the end of it. You know, I wouldn't have said this would happen back in January. I was completely hopeless, I'll be honest with you. But it just shows the winner's mentality. He stuck with it. And he said, look, that's all, you know, the stuff I can't control, I can't control. Here's what I can control. And when you can calm down and you can focus on what you can control, that's a winner.
Pam, I think that's a brilliant point you make, because what we do is obviously when Rodgers got appointed, we looked at the pros and cons of him getting the job. And I think we were all pretty united in the fact we loved the fact Rodgers always seemed to remove emotion from his decision-making. And I actually think when you look at it, he's going, is this not factually what a title race is meant to be? And yet the second we seem to find ourselves in a race, we all hit the panic button. I include myself in that at times, by the way. That's not me throwing that about at other people. I include myself in that. Because we've had it our own way. This is 12 out of 13 titles won. How many of them have actually been a neck-and-neck race to the second last fixture of the season before you get over the line? Few. So you've got generations involved then as well that don't know this. And I think Rodgers, if we're going to be consistent, then one of the bits of praise, Pam, we gave him when he got the job was he removes emotions from his decision making. And I think he removed the emotion and just looked at it as we are in a title race here. This is what title races look like. I'm backing myself to win it.
Exactly, and I'll be honest, I'm one of those generations that's not used to the title race. I kind of grew up in the cotton wool era of we just show up, we win, it's all grand, we're going to pass with flying colours. So this was a bit of a nail-biter this season.
Pam showing off she's younger than us, Terry. That's the first dig already, mate. That's the first dig already she started.
No, it wasn't meant that way. It wasn't meant that way. It was actually meant as one of my miscomings. I'm not used to that. I'm used to it in the Premier League, obviously, but not up here. But I think Brendan, especially in his time in management in the Premier League, this is just normal for him. He's used to the idea that, look, he has to get up, he has to do the job, he has to produce the wins to keep up. Simple as. And, with the performances that he's led Celtic to this season, that shows. He has the emotional resilience that probably I didn't have for a lot of this season too, because I panicked, I'll be honest with you. I panicked.
Yep, totally right. Terry, do you know what as well? It's also strange. I think sometimes certain guys that are flavour of the week or can do no wrong, I would consider Mr. Postecoglou in that bracket. See what Rodgers does, his first thought before he gets handed the Sky Sports mic, is to instantly throw his arm around Lenny, point to him, and point to the Celtic fans, and basically asking them to give him some love. And just thought such a classy move. Someone who could easily, if we fall into the trap of Terry going, the big self-loving Rodgers, he's not going to miss his moment to get on that camera and get the pearly whites out and tell the world how brilliant his team's been tonight and that they deserve the title and it's all on him. Actually, instead, what's he doing? Instantly making the most of a chance to go, look, let's all forgive and move on. We're all in a wee high here. Lenny's beside me. Give him the cheer that he deserves, and let's all move on. And I just thought, just again to have the sort of wherewithal to do that. Will he get as much love as that as everyone else? Probably not.
No, and I think it's very easy because of the amount of money people in football get paid. It's very easy to think, and it's a great job, obviously, but that doesn't mean that it's an easy job. And we'll never know just how difficult that job is. But I can imagine it is a difficult job. I mean, in my job, if one person shouts abuse at me, I struggle to deal with that. If you've got 60,000 people shouting abuse at you at your job and criticizing what you're doing and your methodology and your approach, no matter how much is in your bank account, that must be a difficult place to be in. And so I think Rodgers, he probably just acknowledges that Lenny has been in those shoes and has experienced some of the challenges that he experienced this season, where no matter what you do, it's looked on as being wrong, and every single thing that you do is being questioned. And as you say, or as I said earlier, that just felt like a moment tonight, right, Brendan? You're forgiven, and it's almost as if he's trying to say, well, if I'm now forgiven, surely you can forgive Lenny. And I think through time, Lenny will be absolutely fine. But we'll never know what.
A classy move, though, wasn't it? It was a classy move, though, wasn't it?
It
won't get the gushing, Terry. Had it been a certain other one, or that just for an example, if it had been Ange sung like that, we'd be getting waxed lyrical over and I just can't get enough of this guy. I mean, what point did Ange Postecoglou ever bring the dinner ladies out when he got manager of the month? The cynical bastard. Do you know what I mean? You look at Rodgers. He brought the tea ladies out. Everyone.
We've had classic managers. I mean, Martin O'Neill. There was a moment last season, wasn't there, where he was the Sky pundit and he was on the park and he was chatting to Ange after it and he was begging him to stay and telling him what a great job he'd done. So he's just another one of those Celtic managers, a bit like the one whose anniversary was today, Tommy Burns. You get another
yes,
classy Celtic manager, and Brendan joins that list.
Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely. And this is the thing as well now, Pam. We're looking at, obviously, the joy of winning a title. But with that, Terry's obviously got his transfer scrapbook out already, who the ins and outs are, even on, he just doesn't stop, this guy, you know, to coin another man's phrase. But I actually think when you look at Rodgers right now, you go, see if this was what I would describe, for Celtic standards, I would say this was a season of transition. Mm-hmm. And the transition didn't work. And eventually we just had to get anyone from that was already at the club to actually get us over the line. As for the year of transition, if you're winning league titles in that, and you're making sure you've got your foot still down on that pedal or on their throats, if you know, folk prefer that, it's better because it means we now have that financial gulf, you know, expanded to a level that we can't even imagine. And when we think about it, we now go, you won from your transitional season. Where the hell next? Where can Rodgers now take it? This is the foundation, and he's built it with success at the same time. A brilliant trait in a manager. Now it's kicking on from here and taking Celtic. And I'll be honest, I back Rodgers to get more points in the Champions League again next year. And I have more faith in him getting points in the Champions League than I did the previous manager. I just hope now we can all, you know, from the board and things like that, they can acknowledge that this wasn't right, how they went about the off-field stuff and the recruitment drive this year, and he still delivered. It's time now to trust the guy at the other stuff as well.
Exactly. I can see Brendan getting further backing this summer from the board, especially Dermot Desmond, who he seems to be sort of close with.
Yes.
I think this season was Brendan saying, look, I got the job done what you gave me, but I want more because we want to do better. That's what I hope. That's the message I hope gets through to the board. And I hope they do agree to fund him in some way, because Brendan does have the ability to get great results. All he needs is the support that the board should give him. You know, they should give him the monetary support to grow. That's what we all want ultimately. And if you invest, from the board's perspective, if you invest that money to Brendan and let the team grow, they will make more money for you. They will go farther in the Champions League, getting more money. They'll keep winning the Scottish League, get more money. You know,
Yep.
I just don't understand how they don't see that. But also, secondly, this was really important that Sevco didn't get that money. That's what I was worried about. If they got that money, they would spend it like I would want Celtic to spend it. And I was really worried about that.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, God. But, you know, we got the money. Hopefully it can be recycled. You know, hopefully it can be recycled in a way that's conducive to growth.
Yes.
I think.
Conducive. Oh, big fancy words getting pulled out now, Terry. I mean, see, to be honest with you as well, we need to obviously look at this from the domestic standpoint, Terry, of yes, we've only won it with a game to spare, right? So that means that there is obviously another main character in this title race, Terry, and that is obviously our rivals. What does this do to them mentally? Where do they find themselves in this? Where the hope, if they do say it kills you, I mean, we know they can't get killed apparently. Do you know what I mean? They do mere resurrections, and I don't know, someone who's had loads of resurrections. But I mean, it just seems bizarre to me that club right now will have to try and go to the mill again with fuck all. They're going into a gunfight with a water pistol, a scooshy gun, as the judge would call it. And I just look at it and go, you know, they must be in despair right now because they thought they had this in their grasps. So this one's going to hurt them. As much as this is a sweet one for us, you've spoken on the channel many a time, Terry, about if we do get over the line, if we do get this over the line, it's going to be one of the sweetest ones for you. But with that then comes more hurt for them because if it's sweet for us for all those multitude of reasons, then that gives you a multitude of reasons why it's going to hurt them more. And it does make them, you know, vulnerable as well this summer to having to make a panic decision. Do we spend money we don't have to try and keep up? Can they afford to do that? And you just wonder if this was a sliding doors moment where had they managed to keep the pace up when it matters, had they managed to come alive when title races properly kick in, had they been able to do that, they could have got up to, not level pegging, but certainly making it a more comparable battle in terms of off the field as well. But now they're back in the dust again, Terry, and it's got to be a despondent night to be one of them and get it right around them.
I think so, Bhoycie, but they'll probably convince themselves that they've actually won it, and Clement will pull together some kind of story or some stat, or he'll find something that they've done better than us and focus on that, and that'll be the narrative going into the summer. I think they'll do what they've done. They'll find money from somewhere. They'll punt a player, probably most probably the goalkeeper, who's their sort of most saleable asset. They're going to lose players that once again they've made that sort of criminal move of allowing players to run down contracts and leave on freeze. If a few players are injured that they brought in that might turn out to be good signings, the guy they spent roughly $6 million on, Danilo, he was injured soon after coming in. They'll find a way, boys. They'll find a way to be competitive again next season, and one way or another they'll get the money from somewhere, as they've shown in the past. They'll find a way to do it. I think they'll probably be slightly weaker than they were this season, but they'll find a way to be competitive in some way. And yes, tonight was great, and yes, we've got the job done. But we still do. We still just need to be careful. There were so many poor performances this season. We can't fall asleep at the wheel to coin a tifo from years ago, which strikes true today as it was then. And my only concern around the Celtic board is getting over the line. Does that show that we don't need to go strong? And the fact that there's no guaranteed Champions League next season, that old line hasn't been rolled out for a couple of years in terms of, well, we're not guaranteed next year, so we might have to just keep a few quid in the bank in case we don't get through next year.
No, mate. I mean, that's luckily the reason why the channel still does okay in the summer, because these conversations will happen, by the way. And you are spot on in what you're saying. I'm one of those folk who like to contradict myself every now and then. I just think when we win the league and when you get it done, I'm like, fuck it. Even I'll take myself out of all that crap for half an hour and I will enjoy the moment. I just thought the scenes tonight, it was class. And Rugby Park's been a happy hunting ground for winning titles. You get memories of Nakamura. You get memories, I'm sure, was it under Lenny? We beat them like 5 or 6-0 as well. Mulgrew was unbelievable in the left wing. I'm sure that was at Rugby Park as well. But anyway, I mean, the other thing tonight as well, just when you think they might be the bogey team for us, Pam, suddenly it turns into this like talking head sang, same as it ever was, and Brendan Rodgers wins trophies against Derek McInnes. Which is so ironic considering the fact it looked like Killie kind of had a number at times this year. Tonight, just back to what we expect from Rodgers, pumping McInnes in the big games, and that's what we want to see in it.
And that's the thing with Rodgers, it seems like in just the run-of-the-mill games, he's quite shaky, but in the big games, he performs. Like, he always performs in the derbies, and he performed in this game as well. He just knows how to bring it out. And fair play to him for doing that.
No,
his record against Killie before tonight was 8 wins and 15. I heard the commentator say. Is he falling off his seat with shock?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I was saying his record against Killie before tonight was 8 from 15.
8 from really?
Yeah, the commentator said it tonight.
Oh, no doubt they'd get that in. Yeah, an interesting one, that. I mean, apparently his records, this is what I love, because everyone goes, the league was shit first time round, but he never beat Livy away. His record was shit the league was shit first time round, he never beat Hibs away. The league was shit first time round, he's only got 8 wins and 15 against Killie. No one can make their mind up with this crap. I just think some people get under. Rodgers is one of these guys, he's a Marmite character, I think, and I think he's one of those folk who he knows who he is, he says what he means, and he means what he says, and he knows where his level's at, and people find that, unpalatable, and therefore look for every sort of angle to take pops rather than give praise. Tonight's a night of praising. Tonight's a celebration. It is 11:15, so I will let you both go. And what time is it where you are, Pam?
5:44. So
in the afternoon.
Yeah.
No. So that's our second contributor, regular contributor, the other side of the Atlantic, Terry. We are going global, mate.
I know. You know what I'm worrying about already, Bhoycie. I'm worrying about.
Fucking hell, big worrying face. Fucking hell, mate.
An extra 2 Champions League games next year. That's 2 more late nights where I have to sit and chat to you.
I can't wait. Let the fun and games start. Anyway, we'll have a couple more P.M.Ps before to sign off the season. Then Terry will take his usual extended break, honestly.
My last one Saturday, I won't make the cup final. I have to do something with my 2 boys. They've got an awards due straight after the cup final, so I'm hoping it doesn't go to extra time. But I'll be with you on Saturday.
Fantastic. And if Celtic can get the 3 points, the judges just stepped in there and reminded us that'd be a 93-point tally for on Saturday, same as Ange in year 1. People don't like hearing these facts. They just don't like it. But Rodgers has done okay. The league is in the bag. Pam, what a debut. Thank you so much for jumping on the bus, and we will see more and more of you. Terry, cheer up. We are champions.
Yes, we are.
And I'll see the rest of you all later. Plenty of shows coming up. We'll be back tomorrow. See you all later. Cheers.
Take care.